It's July 11th, 2024. This is Roqe. Hi there. Welcome to episode 330 of Roqe. I'm Jian Gomeshi. Hello to you from Canada. Hello to you from Toronto. Salam dostan aziz. Durud bar shoma. Hope you are doing well wherever you are tuning in from around the world. It is undoubtedly a testament to the trauma or the tragedy of the Iranian story over the last 45 years since the coming of the Islamic Republic that some of our culture's greatest icons have mixed feelings about the homeland that they still pay some tribute to. And my guest today is not only a legend and a cultural pioneer, but someone who is speaking out as so disheartened by what Iran has become that he says he wishes he had never been born there. He's the great Mohammad Khordadian. This is an interview we did 2 days ago, and I posted on Instagram last night. This is probably one of the most provocative interviews we have ever done here on Roqe. Let me bring in Smart Pegah. Hello.
Hello.
I'm quite eager to share this interview with the world because I think it's insightful. It's definitely passionate.
Very.
And it's at times very sad. Mr. Khordadian says that he hates liars. He hates lying. And so he's going to tell it like it is. And boy, does he ever in this interview. This, of course, being the great choreographer, dancer, activist, cultural icon, Khordadian. You've had a chance to hear the interview that we did a couple of days ago.
I have. There were so many moments that I kind of had to pause. I so appreciate his bluntness, his honesty, him being real, and not holding back. Honestly, throughout the entire interview, I was just in awe of the fact that he really told it like it is and wasn't afraid to share his opinion. And I think that's part of the bravery that you actually talked to him about. Throughout
his life. He's done some recent interviews in Persian.
Yes.
And including there was a documentary that one of the networks did of him. And it's not like he didn't open up in those interviews. But this is the first one, the big one he's done in English. And he is, I would say, if he was 50% open in those ones, this is 100%. He lays it all out.
He really
Maybe
does.
Sometimes when people are speaking English, outside of the mother tongue, but also outside of the poetry and the prose of the Persian language, they are more direct. We've had that happen before. Shahrnush Parsipur saying things incredibly bluntly on this show that you kind of think she's not going to say these things the way she just said them if it were in Persian. Do you think that's part of what's going on here?
Absolutely. I think that speaking in Farsi, especially if it is your mother tongue and you know how to speak in a certain way, then it's a lot easier to get your point across, but kind of do it poetically or, really tiptoe around certain things. But I think exactly like you said, having done this interview in English, that ability to maybe tiptoe wasn't there, or maybe the comfort was there instead. And so things came across a lot more blunt.
We're going to give you guys the interview in just a second. And that bluntness is about his feelings about the world, about Iran, about Iranians, and also about exposing his own love life and where he's at and some new prospects in his world. It's interesting. One of the things I really, truly love about doing this gig is the chance to learn. And because when I get to do an interview like this, which is, I think it's a 90-minute interview or something, and I want to come as fastidiously prepared as I can, I do a deep dive, as one of our friends would say. I do as much research as I possibly can. And so I learn, right? I learn all these things about, and I have to say, Khordadian, it's one of those names that as a Persian, from birth. You kind of it's like I've always known there's this man Khordadian,
and there's an image associated.
There is, and I knew he was a very famous dancer. I knew of his videos, the famous videos of the 80s, which I will ask him about, the ones that were viral by way of the 80s, which is like passed around on CDs and things like that. And I knew that he was an activist. I knew he was outspoken. I know he means a lot to many folks in the Iranian LGBTQ community around the world. What I didn't know is what I've learned so much about his story, and that story of resilience, of kind of sticking by who he is and how powerful and important that is. And I really... as we were going into the interview, I was thinking, I really respect this guy for just the sheer amount of shit he's had to deal with in his life to be the cultural icon that he is. And, he's certainly earned the right to have whatever open opinion that he has about anything, because it's quite remarkable, his story.
Yeah, and like you said, he's never wavered on who he is or what he wanted to accomplish, whether it was from pushing the boundaries and doing the dance videos to coming out as an openly gay man within the community. I
think one of the first big names, big celebrities in Iran, of Iranian extraction, to come out that way.
And even till now, even in this interview, to being outspoken the way he is, and to not being afraid of the opinions he holds and standing by them, I think it's wonderful. All
right, we'll give you the Khordadian interview in just a moment. We're going to do the roundup on the other side of the interview. Yep. We'll talk a bit more about the interview and then the roundup. And I know we're going to talk about a couple of things, including the election of the new quote unquote reformist president in Iran, and the way that's being dealt by the Western media, and also the possibility or what we're hearing about the Islamic Republic supporting and funding some of the protests that have happened in Western cities with respect to Palestine and Israel. So we'll get to that. Also, I asked you to go through some of the letters we've received and the comments about last week's episode. Yes. We did an episode last week called Iran Before Islam, an interview with Professor Dr. Richard Foltz, who's an ancient Iran historian and expert, and talking about what Iran was and who Iranians were before the coming of Islam, before the Arab invasion, as some people know it. And this episode has caught fire on our platforms.
Rightfully so.
You think so?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely one of my favorite interviews that we have by far.
This is last week's episode, Iran Before Islam, on all of our platforms, getting a lot of attention. And there's a lot of comments, too. And some debate in the comments about some of the things that were said in this episode. So we'll get to that after the interview with Mohammad Khordadian as well. In the meantime, the second most exciting thing after our episode last week.
I know where this is going. Where's that bell we have?
Come on then, England! It's the Arsenal bell, but England is the proxy for Arsenal.
Yes, exactly.
What a game. I'm having a laugh at my Germany-loving cousins who are weeping in their beer steins as my English team make the final. So this is very exciting for those of us who are born in England and support the English football team. You liked my post about England.
I did.
So you are also supporting England.
So here's the thing. England, I'm going to take a step back here and say this.
You're undoing the like?
No.
Doesn't an Instagram like mean everything?
Somewhat. But no, England wasn't my first choice, so don't get me wrong. I'm actually rooting for Spain. That's my number one team.
What?
Yes. So we're gonna have
I love the Spanish people, and I think it's a great team. Don't get me wrong.
They're wonderful.
But what are you talking about?
I mean,
so you were rooting against England?
No. Here's the thing. In that game, I was very excited that England won, because I'm actually very much looking forward to the England and Spain match.
It's an outrage.
But I also have to say, a good game played is a good game played, and England played beautifully, especially that last goal. So it was I think
the first game of the tournament that we really played, me being one of the players,
the 13th player,
the England players. All right, well that's fair enough. You run off and support the Spanish team, and I will be looking forward to England.
We've had a couple of bets the last few weeks.
Football
I think we
what
need
I have to
another
say
one.
to you is football is coming home.
Okay.
All right, bring
All right.
it home, bring it home, England. Come on, then, England. And also this week, Canada.
Oh my God!
Our Canada,
Incredible.
ranked I think 45th or something in the world, meeting Argentina in the semifinals of the Copa America, and not
they
playing
held their
badly.
own. Yeah, exactly. I thought that was by far.
Don't you
one
find
of
it's
the
always
best.
Argentina? You know how with Iran, when Iran plays a big game, it's always usually against Argentina.
Yeah.
And it's
Those
always 2-1.
Argentinians.
It's always the same score, 2-0, 2-1. Those Argentinians, boy, are they good.
But really, good job to the Canadian team. I mean, they were incredible. They played so well, and I was so proud to watch that game.
It was
for
really,
sure.
really fun, and really fun to watch Canada get excited about soccer.
Very
This
much.
country has been a hockey country and somewhat of a basketball and baseball country, especially when the Jays and Raptors are winning.
That's right.
But who else is there? Montreal Expos back, in the 70s or something.
Oilers,
But,
is that Edmonton?
no, that's hockey.
Oh, that's
I was
hockey
thinking
too,
of
okay.
baseball and basketball. But yeah, the soccer nation.
TFC's been doing great the last couple of years too. So
Let's
we're
not be
getting
too
there.
Toronto-centric.
Yes.
We support, by the way, there's people listening to us in Spain
I
right
know.
now who I've lost based on this England-loving, this orgy of English football loving. Okay, yes, that's all coming up this weekend. We're going to do the roundup, and we'll do some letters about Iran before Islam. But let's get to the interview with Mohammad Khordadian. This is from a couple of days ago. My featured guest today is a celebrated Iranian-American choreographer, dancer, entertainer based in Istanbul who has revolutionized the world of Persian dance. Mohammad Khordadian started dancing at the age of 5, inspired by the famous Iranian dancer Jamileh. His journey has been anything but easy. He has performed at the prestigious Rudaki Opera House, to navigating the challenges of post-revolutionary Iran, to ultimately becoming an iconic figure in the Iranian diaspora through his instructional dance videos in the 1980s and beyond. Mohammad has continuously broken barriers, transforming the traditional landscape of dance in Iran and also becoming one of the first openly gay Iranian celebrities. His courage and dedication have made him a symbol of resilience and bravery, and he's been an advocate for a free Iran, using his platform to support human rights and democracy. Recently, he has been doing stand-up comedy in Istanbul. We'll get to all of that and more, but first, right now, Mohammad Khordadian joins me from London, England. Hello, sir.
Hello. Good evening. Here is evening. I don't know when people are going to see that.
It doesn't matter anymore. It is such a pleasure to have you on the program. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you for inviting me.
In researching you don't actually have a lot of interviews in English, which I thought was a bit weird because you've been living outside of Iran, mostly in England and the United States, now in Istanbul, of course, for so many years. And yet a lot of non-Iranians may not know about you because there's not a lot about you in English out there. Did you know that?
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't have very many interview in English, but back in the 80s and 90s, a lot of magazines in LA, they would write about me. And I don't know if you know, in 2002, I went back to Iran after 23 years, and I got
Imprisoned.
arrested, and I was in prison, 21-day private cell, then 40 days in Evin. And on that event, a lot of news like Fox News, CNN, BBC, and Los Angeles Times, Washington Times, New York Times, almost everywhere they wrote about me.
Yes.
So I had some English background.
Well, it must be an interesting double life to a certain extent, at least when you were in the States, because on the other hand, when it comes to Iranians, they really do know you, or at least they think they know you. Like so much of your journey, your professional life, your exile, your heartbreaks, your private affairs have been so public. People probably think they know you and your story. Do they?
Half and half. I try to keep some secret, but they know most of it.
Do you like how much of your life has been public, or do you want to hide sometimes?
Uh, I really don't care. I'm uh, up to when they say when you are drowning, if you are 5 centimeter underwater or 5 meter underwater, you're still drowning. So I really don't care. If they want to know everything, I would tell them.
It's an interesting analogy.
Uh,
Being a
yeah,
public person with drowning. I mean,
yeah, some. This is a actually Iranian slang, or for example, which I change it, I
uh,
translate it to English. Maybe it doesn't mean that much in English, but that's what they say in Farsi. They say if you're drowning, if it's 5 centimeter underwater or 5 meter, who cares? If you're in the bottom of the ocean, who cares?
and Mohammed Jan, I'm guessing that, I mean, you are so recognizable. I'm guessing that even if you did want to hide, you couldn't, there's probably nowhere in the world you can go where Iranians won't recognize you and want to talk to you, right?
Yeah, especially now with all this tattoo on my head.
That's right. You didn't help things. If you wanted to blend into the scenery, with your tattooed head, that must have been quite a decision.
Yeah, sometimes in Istanbul, I walk with friends, and it's summer, it's hot, and they tell me if wear hat. I say why? I shave my head and I put a tattoo, so I want to show them to the world. And on my head is Kurosh, Cyrus, the greatest, and I love to people to see and ask me question, who is it? And I tell them about our history.
I'm curious about that decision. That's a big decision to shave the head and to do that. Was it a split second, something that precipitated that, or is it something you'd been thinking about?
No, for many years I've been thinking about it, and I always wanted to do. And by the time I get to it, my both shoulders were too full, and there is nowhere else to put Cyrus except my head. Because to me, if we have to, we don't have to, uh, but if we have to really pray to somebody, I think it's Cyrus.
Why is that? Why are you so dedicated to Cyrus the Great?
Because he's the father of ancient Iran, and anybody with a little bit of intelligence, they know who is Cyrus more than any other king of ancient Iran.
I'm going to come back to Iran and your relationship with Iran, but in the introduction, I called you a symbol of resilience and bravery. Do you feel you're that?
Uh, I don't know what is taboo. Taboo is in English is taboo too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
taboo works. Yeah.
yeah. I'm great in breaking taboos. And if you call that bravery, some of the Iranian artists who are my friends, they say you don't have to be Babak Khorramdin and sit on the horse and go with the sword and be a brave. What you did in your life, it was very much brave. Uh, for example, I was one of the first men Iranian dancer. I know you. There was at the back home in the Rudaki Opera House. There were some male dancer, but not the way I came out and show Iranian dance to the world, and to especially men can dance as the same as women, not as feminine. They can make it that masculine. Then after that, I went to Iran. Then after that, if you call that bravery, after that, I came out about being gay because it's my life, and they keep bugging me every time I had interview with Iranian TVs, and they go around it. And I told them, if you have a guts to ask me directly, I would believe me, I would answer you directly. And about 20 years ago, Amir Qasemi did in one TV interview called Uncut. And recently at Manoto TV, we had a because this love story has been following me for past 46 years since I left Iran. And that's the one I'm writing the book with Ali Hamadani. Here, please tell him to promise to finish this book.
That's what you're doing in London. He gets to keep you in London as long as he takes his time writing that book with you, huh?
Yeah. And so after this documentary came out, actually around last Christmas, I was waiting to get a lot of
backlash,
things back up from people, but thank God they all were nice. And I mean, you always get bad things, bad review, but 99% were very nice about it. And then a lot of non-Iranian sent me a message on Instagram and Facebook. Why is not in English? You know, my dancers from back home, back LA, back in 80s and 90s, and now they're getting older and they follow me. So I told them, and they put the subtitle, thank God. And believe it or not, in less than 3 months, it reached 1.6 million. And it's not a 3 minutes music video.
No,
it's 1 hour, 1 hour 15 minutes.
I have to say it's beautiful, and it's beautiful how open you are in it too, letting people into your life, which is why I was asking the question in the beginning about people perceiving how much they may know you, and ultimately, I'm not sure anybody can get to know somebody who just through the media, you know. But you know, you said a couple of times in that answer, if you call that bravery, I would call it bravery in terms of your pioneering role, say, of coming out as gay, or the kind of dance you were doing that wasn't the norm, wasn't expected in terms of gender norms in Iran. Do you call it bravery?
Well, if you call it bravery and people think they are his bravery, then I guess
هنوز خودت نمیتونی بگی. You can't say it yourself. That you must be proud of what you've done.
You know, one thing I learned from since I was little. For example, if I didn't do anything and people tell me, like maybe my teacher, my father, push me, say you did it. I say, no, I didn't. And I always stay on my words, and I never be scared of anybody, no matter who they are. Even if the king, I'm in front of the king, if I have to say something, I would. Maybe I respect and I bring my tone down, but I do. And I think I am brave. Because of all that.
You've never been scared of anybody. Have you ever been scared?
No. Right now, actually, I live in Istanbul. Yeah. And Istanbul, in Farsi, they say Hayat Khalvate.
Yeah.
Iran.
Backyard of Iran, yeah.
Backyard of Iran. And I do what I have to do. Even when Mahsa Amini died, I made a video on that music, Baraye. You know, I do my best, and I do what my heart say. I never follow my brain. I always follow my heart.
In that return trip to Iran in 2002, you get kept at the airport and then imprisoned and put in solitary. Were you scared then?
The only time I was really scared when after 21 days of solitary private cell, then they took me to court, and then now they take me to Evin. When I was walking to Evin and they put a number on my chest, at that moment, because I heard anybody go to Evin, it doesn't come out alive. So at that moment, that was the only time I was scared, and I cry in public. Maybe many times I cry in my private cell, but that was the only time. There were a few soldiers following me, and actually, they were kind of like in love with me. Only one guy who took me there. The soldiers were smashing their, what do they call these sticks they have?
Batons.
They were pushing their hands, and they keep saying, Muhammad Dusetarin, Muhammad, we love you. And at that time, I don't know, maybe a little bit of strength come from them, and a little bit of being scared. It's all mixed, and I cry as they were walking me to my cell. That was the only time I scared.
Would that include when you were a kid? In other words, I'm going to ask you about growing up, but I mean, were you always the expression is dance to your own tune, which is an interesting one for a dancer. But was it always clear to you and maybe to those around you, even when you were a young guy, would it be clear that you were going to cut your own path?
For me, it was always clear. When I was much younger, like maybe 5, 6 years old, first year of school, my dad told me, if you get into fight, don't be afraid, hit them. If you cannot hit them, pick up a rock and hit them. And I would answer their parents, don't worry. And he gave me that strength. And that's how I become most of my life. And I'm short, I'm small, and I don't have that much of a strength, but in my word and in my stand, I always had.
In the various documentaries and in interviews and stories of your life that I've watched and consumed and read, you always say that you always loved dance, back to when you were a kid, and that's obviously true given that you started doing it when you were 5. Can you put into words what did it represent for you, dance? Why did you love it so much?
I guess I feel free when I dance. Actually, dancing is ultimate freedom. When you see some people, they are a little bit drunk or they are high, and then they start dancing. It's just you let go. Maybe your hands want to go this way. You don't control it. You know how we always control. We have to wear a tie. You have to be control. We be polite. But when you dance, you don't have to control yourself. You let your body, your muscles go. And maybe I find freedom in it.
And do you think that was the case as a kid, even that there was something where you felt like you were unbound by what you're supposed to do, or that you get to follow your own instincts if you dance?
Also, I think maybe from when I was little, I knew I'm gay. Maybe that's part of it. And I would get attention with dancing. I love the attention. And it's all come together. I don't know. I never think about it.
It was a way to express.
Yes.
Those years in Iran, I mean, they come to a kind of zenith, a crescendo by the late 70s, and you're looking back in it and reading about your life and learning about you. I mean, everything seems like it was happening in those times. This is just before the Islamic Revolution in Iran. You're this rising star in dance in Iran. You're part of the National Folk Dance Company. You get married in London. You come back to Iran for a ceremony. This is right on the precipice of the Khomeini Revolution. How do you process that era, that time in your mind now?
Again, we were brave at that time. Actually, my English wife, she was a professional ballet dancer. That's how we met in Roqe Hall. And she helped me a lot as well. And I look when I go with her to for example, Roqe Hall restaurant or backstage, and I see her with other male ballerina, how they wear tights. And first of all, I get fascinated with them. And second of all, I start to get more brave and I say, why not? What's the difference between me and them? And still I am the same. If I find the right person and I marry him, I would put my pictures together, our wedding picture, on the Javanan magazine. Why? What's the difference between me and Elton John? How can he do it and I can't do it?
Right.
This been with me all the time, all my life. Just right now, I was going to wear a t-shirt. Ali said, no, wear something with the color. I said, what is this going to do to the interview? It's make me more polite. It's like you're wearing tie. It's supposed to be a relaxed interview. But I listened to him, as always.
But also that time, I mean, where I was going with it, it would seem that professionally, if not personally, everything was sort of coming together for you. And frankly, you're not the only one that this would apply to. I know you loved our dear Faramaz Aslani, and I would say the same thing about him, where everything's sort of coming together, and then it's stolen from underneath you when the revolution happens. And you're effectively, eventually forced to leave. How do you, not that anyone could really even make sense of this in retrospect, but how do you think about that and that period?
But at that time, I was young, and actually I was in love with that man in the story, the documentary.
Yes.
Uh, most people see it. I didn't want to leave Iran, and Jian, my ex-wife, keep forcing, and her family, let's go. I say, if we go, who is going to make Iran? We stay, and we will make it. And we still keep the class in Rudaki Hall, and they come, and then we say, "Oh, we're just practicing gymnastic," and the ladies, they said, "Oh, we are separated." We stay for another 11 months, almost, me and Jean, and then it was the time to leave. Uh, when I think the war starts, it was around that time the war, Iran and Iraq start, and for making money to surviving, Jean was working in Anistitosemin as a English teacher, and I was working on taxi. I was a taxi driver.
Yeah.
And then when the blackout start, and that's first night, I come home and I say, now it's time to leave because we can't survive anymore. I don't know what else to do. Besides dancing, I find some kind of job I can do, which was taxi. And now I can't do that because at night I would take the taxi in the evening. And as soon as I get the taxi, it was blackout and it was no petrol. It was very hard. So that's how we left, and we came to London, and they start dancing again.
Well, and then you go to the States, and it's only a few years later, 2 or 3 years later, that your big breakout, really, I mean, globally for Iranians, both inside Iran and around the world, are these instructional dance videos that you make that become massive hits, like the Jane Fonda workout videos in the West. Is it an interesting irony, or maybe a strange blessing, that you go into exile and it leads you to do the biggest thing that you had done up to that point in your life?
At the time I did it, I didn't know it's going to get that big. Actually, Jane Fonda inspired me, and I say, why not? Why do this with the Farsi word, a little bit of exercise and a little bit of dancing? And first I did my number one video was only with me, Jean, another girl, and another guy. It was only 4 person. And at that time, I had a mustache. But I didn't like it because it was only with one camera. And this guy took all night, one time medium shot, one time long shot, one time close up. So by the end, we were so tired and we didn't look the same as beginning. And he did a bad editing. And then I took that to Parse Video, and they said, are you ready to do the second one? Because this doesn't look good. And the one with I'm wearing stripe, that one was the second one, actually. Well, everybody think it was the first one. And that was the one that got hit.
Yeah.
Because it was the time of war. And in Iran, the only people could entertain people was videos. And because they had to, it was a blackout and they had to cover their windows. And so that at night they watch the video and they exercise with it. And I remember one time in Los Angeles, some lady, she introduced herself as a sister-in-law of Rafsanjani. And she said, believe it or not, the only video is allowed is his house, is your video. And he say, this is exercise, this is not dancing. And he even doing it. And it was the time he was president.
That's fantastic. It is a crazy juxtaposition that at the time of the coming of this theocracy, this Islamist, new movement that has co-opted the country of Iran, has become the Islamic Republic, and that a war is going on, that through the black market, through people finding any way they can these videos and CDs, at home they're watching a guy in LA do dance moves that people mostly hadn't seen men do up until that point. It's just it's a fantastic, it's garish in a way, unfortunately, in terms of what was happening in Iran, but a fantastic story of how you were able to influence people inside Iran one way or another, even though you weren't there.
Yeah, I didn't know it's going to get like that. But I heard from Iran, uh, one of the person was Mr. Fardin. Uh, Fardin said to me at one time, I see him in LA, we were talking. He said, for presidency, people write his name, Gugu's name, and my name, and sometimes Moin name more than anybody else. That means it doesn't mean we're going to be a politician. It just means people want happiness. They want to be happy, and this was one of the things that make people happy.
Mohammed, starting with those instructional videos, I mean, can I ask you about Iranian men and dancing? Because one of the things, like in my lifetime, I don't remember a time when, I guess since I was more conscious, as a kid and then afterwards, I always remember at parties, one of the things I loved is that men dance, men kind of, you go to an Iranian mehmouni now and the men are dancing as well as the women are dancing. And I understand that wasn't always the case. In fact, it wasn't that long ago, half century ago, you wouldn't have seen that necessarily at a mehmouni. How much, and I know you'll be modest here, but I try not to be modest, try not to taw it off. How much did what you did create that culture where Iranian men felt comfortable doing the kind of dance that you taught us?
A lot. 95%, I think. Uh, because before that, as you said, never you see men dance. And also, I think Islamic Republic helped because at the weddings, our men and women are separate. So men need some entertainment too. So men get up and dance, and they see nobody bother them. But if women dance, they might get arrested if they catch them. But men doesn't get arrested. So men start dancing and be more free and copy me. And even they had the style of Khordadian style. In some songs, like Tatalu's song has come, let's dance Khordadiani. The same to say, let's dance salsa or let's dance Baba Karam. It's kind of style, it's my style. And I think at 95% was me. And that's why when they arrest me, they call me Mufsed Fel Ars because I, uh, I, they say you cropped the youngest, and because of this, I made everybody.
Such a bad influence, allowing people to dance. Yeah, it's quite. It really underscores how audacious it was that you were making these videos and putting yourself out there. That now, even though you didn't know how big this was going to be when you made that second video, you were in LA and doing this. Did you have moments where you were did you ever have moments thinking like, is this okay? Can I do this? Is this going to be all right? Am I crossing some sort of line doing this? Should I not be doing this?
No, not at all. First, actually, when I heard the first one, it was that success and popular quickly. And Mr. Kabe, the owner of Parse Video, forced me to do the third one and the fourth one. We did 4 Persian video and 2 Arabic video, which I teach. And I think they are on YouTube. Unfortunately, I don't have any of them, but I'm in contact with Parse Video. Hopefully, I will get them from them.
Does your style, your wildly successful style, it's almost like a hit album, like a band has this like international hit album, and when that happens, if I draw the music analogy, the audience always wants the band to play the hit singles then, and I wonder if it ever becomes a cage for you as a creative person, as a dancer, like even if you want to try other kinds of dance, even if you want to express yourself through, say, modern dance, the audience is always demanding from Khordadian what they expect from Khordadian.
Exactly. I have videos on YouTube. I try to do salsa, Arabic, modern, even ballet, and but still they want at the end of the road, they want Khordadiani dance. Some people, I don't know, maybe they're cybery. They say, "Oh, you always dance the same. It's been 40 years you dance the same." But that was my trademark.
Does it ever get tired for you Do you ever think, when people are expecting that of you, it's like, hey man, just watch me do some other kind of move? Are you ever fed up with your own legacy?
Actually, yes, I am. Actually, right now, I that's why I moved to stand-up comedy. I try to do less dance. Recently, for Persian New Year, we had a stand-up comedy in Istanbul, and we advertised for stand-up comedy. But everybody is calling dance, dance, dance. So when we dance, then they will say, "How about dance competition?" Then I say, "Okay, I put $100 in my pocket. Come, it's just fun. It's not going to be a real dance competition." And everybody run into the stage. So people love it. Why should we take it away from them?
I was going to ask you actually before the end of the interview about the stand-up comedy, but so in a way, it's obviously it's you expressing yourself in other ways. But so what happens in the club if somebody screams out, or wherever you're performing your comedy, if somebody says, "Do some dance for us"? How do you react to that?
Yeah, I do it. I say, okay, be patient, hold your horses, I will do it. And at the end I do. Because I see some stand-up comedy in Iran. Iranian people are get used to that. For example, Mahi Sefad or Rayvandi, when they do, because they can dance, so in between jokes or between whatever they have, some keyboard player sitting on the corner. He played keyboards for like 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and people are just clapping. And then he start the next subject. And instead of that 30 second I make sure I have some music ready, and I do dances of like 15 second in between, and make them happy. And I don't have to dance as much because, believe it or not, I am 67 years old now.
I don't
And
believe it.
it's very little bit hard for me to dance for so long, for like straight half an hour or even 5 minutes. So with 15 second, 20 second, we get over it and they're happy.
But you must like being on stage, because if there are very few things I can think of that are more vulnerable for an artist to do than to get on stage and dance. And one of the only things I would think would be more difficult in terms of vulnerability of laying yourself naked would be stand-up comedy. You're basically up on stage, you putting yourself in a position where people could easily make fun of you or attack you or boo you, but it's worth it to you somehow. You are clearly someone, I'm guessing, who enjoys performing.
Well, in stand-up comedy, I am very confident I can handle people. I can hold the whole room in my hand, and if they say something, I'm very quick to answer back without even thinking. So I know I can handle it, and that's another way of me. I also did acting. I did one play which I wrote, and I direct and I play uh, back in 2011 through 15. It's called ازدواج مشکوک, suspicious marriage, which people think it has to do with my being gay, or if I'm marrying a woman or a man. Even I make the advertise like that, but it has nothing to do with that. It was about lie, because that's my uh, red light about uh, lie. I hate lying, and I made that about that. But everybody come and they took it, and even the leading theater actor at that time, like Ali Purtash and Asadullahi, they came to my Angeles. After that, as soon as I get home, Ali Purtash called me and said, "Oh my God, I should pray on you. You're so good." And I call right now. I call Mr. Sayad, and I call uh, Shora Ardashlu's husband, uh,
Hushang Tozi.
Hushang Tozi, and said, "You should see Mohammed. How can he act?" So that's a big compliment for me. And Mr. Asadullahi, he used to be very especially if somebody new coming, he come, it's like a critics. He sit there and try to, and he didn't say anything that night, and he even come backstage and congratulate me. So that's a lot from these people. And I could stay in it, but I thought it's easier than dancing because I was tired of carrying costumes and training non-Iranian dancer. But now I see I don't have to carry costume, but I have to move furniture and all that. I still love to act. I love to do stand-up comedy. I love to even dance. But if everything is ready and prepared, like American artists, but even after 40 some years, Iranian artists, when you go to some show you go, everything is ready, but some show you have to do from A to Z yourself.
Mm.
And that section of it, I'm tired.
Yeah.
And I know if I do, I'm very perfectionist. If I do it, I'm going to have a heart attack. Right now, I took all my costumes for my whole dancers. I had 50 dancers in LA. My last concert in LA was March of 2008 in Dorothy Chandler Music Center. And it's huge theater, and we really work hard. The next week we did in San Francisco, and that's as far as I could go. Because with my own budget, by bus, I can take the dancers to San
Mm.
Francisco, but take all that group to anywhere else, it's very hard for me. I took the costumes to Dubai for many years, and now is in Istanbul, and in underground of one of my friends' villa. I don't know what happened to them. They've been there for 8 years to try to do a one concert at least to say last concert goodbye to dance, not to every to stage. But since I'm so perfectionist, I don't think I can do it because in Iranian community, unfortunately, it's very hard unless we go back to Iran, and I don't think I will see that.
Yeah, it's definitely monetizing, building a strong career artistically outside of Iran in the current situation. Even for the icons like yourself, it's remarkably challenging. There is something when you said you how much you hate lying. That's an interesting. It's something that's come up on this show a whole bunch recently. I mean, it's kind of been an undertone of since we began Roqe. I mean, 4.5 years when we talk about being Iranian and somehow lying comes up. But recently we've been talking about ta'aruf even as the culture of lying and that there's so much in our community, so many facades and so much unfortunately people not being honest with each other, something that's even taught top down from the Islamic Republic where people have to hide who they are in their lives and basically live lies. Tell me about your issue with lying.
Actually, there is no issue. It's always been there. And if somebody I know, maybe is one of your questions, but I answered it earlier. If you ask me, do you love Iran? Yes, I love Iran. Do you want to go back? No, because all the people, I don't say 99%, all of them are liar, thief, even your own brother try to snap you from the back. And especially since I moved to Istanbul and I get closer to them, then I see that a lot. And to me, lying, whoever I get friend or or partner in work, whatever. First thing I tell them, please don't lie to me and please don't tar off with me, which I hate. Second one. And third one, lately, since I live in Istanbul, it's Sarekar Nazar. Like uh, Sarekari is, I didn't know that was in our own language either. And now I learned, which they are late. They are like 2 hours away. They say, we'll be there in 10 minutes. It's the same as lie. So if you be honest to me, be guts to say, have a guts to say, I am going to be 2 hours late. And then I know I will sleep, I take a nap, I do something until you come. But that I hate. And when they do that to me, if he's my friend, I warn them one time. If he's not friend, the same time I don't answer their phone anymore. They're out of my life. And that makes me so lonely right now in Istanbul because everybody's like that, unfortunately.
Wow. I mean, your relationship with Iran is so complicated, isn't it? I mean, you clearly have a love for Iranian culture. You are part of our Persian culture in terms of what you have created and what you have influenced. And you have Cyrus the Great tattooed on your head, and you're saying that all Iranians are liars and thieves. That's a tough paradox for you, right?
Well, if I say all, maybe they're going to be my enemy soon. I say 95%, but I think all of them. Unfortunately, this is my experience, especially since I live 5 years. I live in Dubai after I left Iran in 2002, and now about 8 years I've been living in Istanbul. And before that, we used to do those dance competition in Antalya. So every summer for 3 months I was in Antalya. So I've been in contact with a lot of them.
Yeah.
Even though when they come with lots of love towards you, they're like, they say, for example, we arrive in airport, a bunch of us all artists going from one concert to another concert, with arriving in airport in Istanbul or Dubai. And I have American passport, so I go out earlier before than other people, and waiting for my suitcase to arrive. They come, oh, Mr. Khordadian, they're bunch around me. We only come to Dubai just for you, just for you. 2 minutes later, Mansour come out. The same thing. Now I'm empty, standing, nobody's around me. They go to Mansour. Then Shatmer come, the same thing. Ebi come, the same thing. So everything they say is chaploosi, lie. And at that moment, I even don't have a show in Dubai at that time, but they come and say that. We only come for you. We love you.
Do you think that's different? Iranians are different from Turks or Arabs or Americans or English in that regard?
Definitely.
Why are Iranians?
Even their compliment is lie.
And why do you think that is?
Why? Because look at the role models. The role models are the mullahs on TV, the politician. They always lie. That's why I don't care who is new president, because this one is liar, that one is liar, all of them are liar, and they're all puppets. Even the time I went to Iran, it was the time of Khatami, and he sent his brother to Evin, and he said, oh, we are working on behind, they are 5%. I didn't know who they are and who these are. These were Khatami's group, and those are Khamenei's group. They said, we are 95%, they are 5%. But when it goes to their hand, we can't do much. I said, then you are a puppet. I said to his brother, to tell your brother, you are a puppet. And they are. And then even the child, like 2 years old child, the phone ring, he pick up a phone and he say hello. And then the dad say I'm not home, say I'm not home. So from that time, from 2 years old, they teach their children to lie. So of course they become a liar, all of them.
But Mohammad Jan, didn't I hear that one of the reasons you moved to Istanbul was because it puts you closer to Iran?
Because of Iranian?
Well, it puts you geographically. It's closer to Iran. Why?
Well, because I miss Iran. I miss the culture. And at first I thought I moved to Dubai, but Dubai, maybe if I was from south of Iran, from Abadan, Ahvaz, it would be closer to my culture. But I didn't like the slavery. You see slavery in Dubai and in Qatar, and also everything is fake. And then I come to Istanbul, it's more closer. They have to see culture and modern together. I think it's where East and West meet each other.
Yes.
And the food is very much close to us, the culture, the language.
But you can understand why. You can understand. I suspect that a lot of Iranians around the world listening to this right now, actually understand everything you're saying. But you could forgive someone, or you could understand a non-Iranian say, or somebody coming into this conversation fresh, and hearing someone say, "I miss Iran, but I wouldn't want to be born there." I want to be close to Iran, but they're all thieves and liars. It's difficult to reconcile, right? It's complicated.
We are complicated. Since 1979, we've been living complicated. Don't you think so?
I
We
of course I do. Of course I do.
Yeah, we are complicated. Some part of my heart is into Iran, and some part of the reality is not. Like, if they tell me, if Iran changed, would you go back to live in Iran? No, because the people, it take them 46 years to change, and it take them another 46 years to be back to where we were.
You. I know this is sort of it's a heartbreaking story, but about 20 years ago, when it was always going to be dangerous for you to return to Iran, and your mom was dying, and you didn't return to Iran. She was in a coma. There's a number of days that you considered going. You didn't. You said you never forgave yourself for at that point not returning to Iran when she was dying. What do you most wish you would have done differently?
Well, I don't know. I never forgive myself because of that. Uh, but my sister in Iran, at that time, my mother was still in hospital. She said, please don't come. If you come, then we have to be one side in hospital, one side in prison, because directly they take you to prison. Why? Just because I dance. That's why when I went back in 2002 and I got arrested, it become like a bomb in every single news in the world. Even I have some friends in small village in Sweden, in Switzerland, in everywhere, in Dubai, in India, uh, even in just a small village, they have some kind of newspaper. It comes once a week. The news was there. Because why? Because to the world, it was very uh, hard to believe somebody is just a crime. His crime is being a dancer,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So how can I live with this kind of people? They actually lately, more I see, more this they have hates. Maybe it's their religion, the religion of hate, the religion of killing other people just because they don't talk the same way you talk, or they don't think the same way you think. So why should I go live in that country?
That time when you were in jail that we've mentioned a couple of times, did you what did you learn from that period? Was there a takeaway, or was it just in other words, did you learn something about yourself or the country when you were put into heaven, when you were in solitary? It's a major thing to happen to anyone, and to you, and an international concern.
I didn't know the international people knows about me because they arrest me in airport. They put a blinder on my eye and a handcuff and took me from back of the airport, uh, not through even people see me. And for 21 days, I didn't know anybody knows where I am, even my own family, because they thought I'm left. And but when after 21 days, they took me to court. Then as I was walking the steps going up to court, then I keep seeing, like hearing, whispering people, oh, it's him, oh, it's him. Then I went and I see there is a newspaper on the table of the guard before even I go to the court, and my picture was on it. Then I know everybody knows about it. And give me a little bit of uh, more confidence, maybe, and strength. I don't know what to call it, but exactly the same as we were talking about all our life being conflict. When I was in prison, one night I think of, what if they kill me? What is going to happen? One night I think, oh, maybe they free me. I didn't do anything. So I've been like through a lot of things. Still, after 22 years, still in back of my mind, I have some some nights, I think about those nights.
And what do you think about?
About what if happened this, what if happened to, because when they took me to Evin, uh, I was up there, and down there was kind of like a small backyard, and Akbar Ganji and Bobby, they were two, I guess, writer or reporter. They were there at that time, and he come and one of the windows were broken, and he comes down there, Ganji especially, because for them all the newspaper will go, the left side, right side, everything. But for us, only Hamshari come to uh, officer office, and he would let me go and bring it to me and read it. So it wouldn't write so much in that. But he say, in so and so papers they wrote they're going to cut your hands, they're going to blind your eyes. So this affects you, of course. At night when you go to bed, try to sleep, all this come to you, and you see bad dream, of course.
Do you feel do you feel a responsibility to speak out, to be political? I mean, the thing is about you, you're not just a celebrity or a famous dancer or even a creative leader. You at this point are a symbol, right? You are a symbol of a free Iran. You're a symbol of an Iran that's an aspiration. Does that weigh on you? Does that make you feel like you have to do something, speak out, etc.?
I did, believe it or not. When I left Iran, I tried to live 5 years in Dubai quietly. I find a boyfriend in Iran, and I thought this is it. And I was trying to live quietly. And in Dubai, couple of times I say something on the stage, not even politic. About, for example, I say, oh, these are not nightclub. In Iran, women toilets were as big as this in our Iranian nightclub at the Shah time, something like that. Then they banned me of performing anymore in Dubai. Still, I can't work in Dubai. Private party, yes, but big concert, if it's something advertised, I can't work there. And then I moved back to America, and I was quiet because of my family, because they house arrest my father for a while. Uh, so when I come to LA, then Green
Movement?
Jombesh,
Yeah.
Green Movement. Squeeze sometimes because I live in Turkey. Sometimes I think of Turkish words.
It's great. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah. For the Green Movement, now it's 2009. I was in Iran 2002. Now it's 2009. Then I went out in front of Federal Building, and I was very loud about it. And I talk and I say, if this is Islam, I don't want to be Muhammad anymore. And please, next time you call me Muhammad, not Muhammad. So I said, if this is Islam, my mother, she did wrong. And 50 years ago, she called me Muhammad. At that time was 50 years. From now on, I'm Darius, Cyrus, Zartosh. That's what I want to be. And I start talking about it. But unfortunately, more further we go, we don't get anywhere. And because as far as I think, England and America don't want a regime change, nothing gonna happen. Look at Masih Alinejad. I love her. I listen to her. How many years she been doing it? Where did she get? Nowhere. At the end, they do what they want to do. Just last year, 1.5 years ago, after Mahsa's movement, how many young people got killed? And we didn't get anywhere.
But we can't give up, though, right? Can we?
Well, I give up. I'm sorry. I give up. I do sometimes, like now. I'm not scared of anybody. If I find a mic and a platform, I speak. But I give up. I'm 67. If something happened to me like Farrokhzad, they come and kill me. Who cares? Nobody.
Do you really believe that?
Yeah, I believe I have 20 years left, maybe less, maybe more. I want to
I think
find it.
everybody would care.
Okay, what do they do being care? Nothing. Okay, on his Salmark, on his 1 year after he died, or 2 year, or 3 year, or 30 year, they gather together, and more forward you go, those audience get older. Look at our Shah of Iran, who is more important than him. Every year you get the audience going to Cairo, getting older man, older woman. Isn't it true? Just recently I watched on internet this new president, whoever it is, and some young people are holding his poster and shouting, and the others
Yes,
gonna be kids.
but as you know, it was less than 2 years ago where the young people of Iran also inspired all of us around the world by, these are the kids who've grown up inside this Islamic revolution, and and not only are they not brainwashed by it, but they're actually leading the revolution. I mean, did you not find that inspiring? I'm sure you did.
Yeah, but what happened at the end? Some of them are died, got killed. Half of them are in prison. Too much Salehi is very brave to me. He's the bravest man. He is inside Iran and he sing those songs. But what do they do to him? And nobody do anything. Okay, few people in Berlin, few people in Washington, few people there stand, hold his. Who is going to do
But can I put,
last?
can I put this to you, Mehmet? Can I put this to you?
Yes.
If there is a young person watching this, listening to this right now in Shiraz, in Tabriz, in Mashhad, and he's a teenager, and maybe aspires to be a dancer, and maybe you're his ultimate idol, you're his role model, and he wants to believe that things can change in Iran. Doesn't he need you to be part of that, to be hopeful that something can happen?
See, I don't want to lie to people. If something I don't believe, I don't want to lie. I wish. We've been saying for past 46 years, I wish. Now I'm getting so emotional. Every Persian New Year, watch the videos from 70s, from 80s. I mean, if you talk about American year, 80s, 90s. Oh, every Persian New Year, I say, hope next year we have Nowruz in Iran. But it didn't happen. So I give up. I can't do anymore because, as I said, I'm caring. I don't want to be selfish, but my health, I care about my health first. And it's not fair to somebody's coming to my life right now, and it's not fair to him. If they come to try to hit me, for example, and he's going to be there, so he's going to go in front, and if something happened to him, so that's why I really give up. Okay, let's the rest of you, the rest of whoever is out there, do whatever they want to do. I'm sorry to say that.
You said in an interview a few years ago that nobody ever loved you for who you are. It really stands out to me. You said that your family wants you for money, your people want you to dance all the time, friends are around you because of the dancers you work with or because of your status. Do you still feel that way?
Well, actually, to be honest, I find somebody. I haven't seen him yet. Tomorrow I'm going to Italy to see him. But I think this is the one. And let's hope this is the one. And at least I have somebody to tell me he loved me. I hope this is the one.
But you're at a friend's place right now who clearly loves you. You have people around the world who do.
Of course. People like Ali. I have a few friends, and part of my family, they love me. It's not nobody loves me.
You know what I've learned is it's kind of it's a difficult thing that you learn as you start to get older. But I've learned that you probably, the real people in your life, the real friends, the ones that are going to be there for you, probably on one hand, maybe two hands, no matter how famous you get. Maximum.
Yeah. I always say, some people I really love, like my nephew or niece in America, in London, in Los Angeles. I tell them, if there are only 5 important men in my life and 5 important women, sometimes when I sit and think deeply, they're not even 5 and 5. Maybe 2, 3 in each hand. 2, 3 men, 2, 3 women.
Do you care about criticism? If somebody's listening to this and doesn't like that when you say I give up or anything else, I mean, maybe they don't like your style.
I get used to that. I get used to that. Go in my Instagram. I don't clean anything. I don't delete anything. Go my Instagram. See what they say. Even recently, I had an interview in Farsi, of course, about 1 month after Persian New Year in Alanya. And in there, I said, he told me about what do you want in life. I said, love. At the end, he said, everything he said, it's end up with love. And that's how I find my love, the new one. And you could see under the all the like Iranian critics, what they say. Oh, get lost, you're old man now, you should die, you should do this. So I'm used to it.
And how do you mentally deal with that?
It bother you, of course. At the end of the day, it bother you. And then my friends like Ali try to tell me, oh, go look at under Gugush, under Ebi. They do that to everybody. Yeah. I know they do, but I always think they are cybery.
So I don't want to jinx I don't want to chesh nukham bezanam about the new love, but so your new love was watching that interview and came and found you? Is that I'm trying to piece it together, what happened from that interview that you found your new love?
No, he did actually saw my documentary, and he feel very lonely, and he didn't get a feedback from his parents or family. And then he see me after 46 years, still I'm talking about my love in Iran. Then he said at that moment, I told myself, this is the one I want.
Wow.
A true love. And then he saw that interview also. Then he see there is no way to reach me. He didn't even have a Instagram account. So he opened an Instagram account just to reach me. And he sent me a message, which I get so many actually after that interview, but 99% were from Iran, and they all want to. I know I have a sixth sense, and also I've been around a lot. Even if they are in their 20s or 30s, I'm in my 60s. And if they just open their eyes and not even see Istanbul yet, and I see all over the world. So as soon as they talk, I know what they want. They want just the security. They think, okay, he's going to take us to America, this and that. But this one, he just sent me a message. He said, I saw you're looking for a partner. Please give me a chance. And if by any chance you're coming to Europe, let's meet. That's all. Very nice, very. And then I say, send me a picture, see who I'm talking. And that's how it started. And now, for past 35 days, we've been talking maybe 5 hours on the phone every day. And tomorrow, I'm going to him. I was waiting for his last exam, which was tomorrow morning, and then go there. I'm going to start a road trip. Wow. And you're not going to find me for the next 45 days.
Oh, well, let's hope so. Let's hope it goes as well as it. That must have been some picture he sent you.
He did.
He hooked you in with the picture.
He did. And at first was the pictures and the body and the look, but after his personality, he's so much intelligent, and I think he has a nice heart. His eyes, normally I look at people's eyes, and his eyes don't lie.
Have you Zoomed or FaceTime with him?
Oh, many times.
Okay, I'm getting protective now. I mean, you got to do your
Five-
due diligence. How do we know?
hours,
How do we know it's not some guy just sending you some picture? You know,
No, 5 hours a day we're spacing time with each
5
other.
hours a day.
Yeah.
No wonder you
not-
don't care about Iran anymore. You're busy. You got
Yeah, I have him, and I follow him anywhere you want to go because he's young, and if you want to study in America, even I take him because how much I have left. As I said, I want to be happy the rest of my life and live quiet. I do sometimes this interview, but I want to be quiet.
I think
and-
we have to do another interview in 45 days to find out how things went in Italy.
No. maybe I invite you for the wedding.
What is he studying that he's got his exams for?
He actually studied science, but he been getting bothered with some phone calls, God knows from where, and to come and work with us and this and that after you finish. So with talking to me and he himself, he's going to change his either to design car or dentist. He been dentist before. He studied that for a year. Maybe he goes to that. And soon we're planning to have a wedding.
What?
Yes.
What?
Either in LA or Istanbul. I don't know Istanbul a little bit. I am cautious.
Okay, hang on a
since it's
second.
an Islamic country. Yes, it is. You heard it right.
But you haven't met him in person yet.
This is the first platform I'm saying it.
Oh my!
I know this is the one. I don't have to. My heart and my feeling never lie to me. And before I had a doubt, but I try not to not show to them I have a doubt about you, and I always write. But this time I don't have a doubt.
That's amazing. But you must be. No wonder you look at you're smiling, and
I'm so happy. I'm the happiest man in the world right now. And if this doesn't work, then I'm not going to look at anybody anymore.
I think you need to. I feel so protective. I think you need to slow down a little bit. Maybe let's see how it goes. Start with the Italy trip. You don't want to have expectations that if they don't happen, then it could be. I mean, I want it to go well for you.
This is the first first time I talk about it in public.
Well, you've now shared. I'm very excited for you, but I hope it goes well, and I hope he is not one of the liars and thieves. He's in the 5%, not the 95% that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah. Well, actually, first thing he didn't live in Iran right now, so he don't need me to take him out of Iran. That was a very big plus for him. And then in all my category, I see he has a lot of plus. So far, I didn't find anything minus.
Wow, this guy is some. I want to. Does he?
Don't be Jian. Don't be jealous.
It's too late. Too late. I'm already jealous here. Like I mean that kind of. And does he dance? Has he danced for you on?
No, not at all.
He doesn't want to, or he doesn't. He doesn't. It's not his thing.
He tell me when you come here, you teach me.
All right. Well, I mean, I don't know where to go after that. I mean, this is anything's going to be anticlimactic after.
Yeah, let's finish it up. Happy ending.
It is a pleasure to talk to you. It is difficult at times to hear just how straightforward you are. I believe you when you say you don't lie because of your words about giving up on what's happening in Iran, etc. I really appreciate your candor. I really appreciate the time you've given us. And I really hope that you find everything in Italy. I
will. I sent him a song, My Love in Portofino. That's it coming up. Did you hear that song, Italian song?
Probably. I mean,
Try to end the interview with this. I love my love in Portofino.
We'll find it. Mohammad Jian, I thank you again. Merci, thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it, and I look forward to talking to you again.
I'm looking forward to.
Khoda.
After the wedding. Khoda Hafiz.
Bye-bye. Khoda Hafiz. This is Roqe episode 330. There you have it. The interview with Mohammad Khordadian from a couple of days ago. Smart Pegah is here in the studio. It's funny. I don't know how to characterize that interview. Whether we were picking the photo for the thumbnail for the poster for the interview, and at first on it he said I picked a big broad smiling, and I was like, well, at times he's not smiling in this interview. He's kind of angry, He's
some of it was intense.
But at the same time he's also joyous and in love, and
you've got a wedding invite.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, here's hoping.
Yes, definitely.
Here's hoping the wedding happens and I can go to the wedding. Now, for folks who are listening out there, now we can talk openly about what was before we set up the interview. We weren't getting into specifics, but he says some very difficult things in this interview about all Iranians inside Iran are liars and thieves, and then I tried to help him with that a little bit. Well, surely you don't mean all. Okay, then 95%, but actually I mean all.
Quite a statement.
Yeah. And I mean, again, he is coming from his experience, and he's saying, "I want to tell the truth," but it does seem like an overstatement.
Yeah. I mean, I think I would say it's definitely a generalization, but I also can't take away from the fact that how, in a way, I'm kind of saddened by that, because how awful has his experience been, and how much, I guess, bad or awfulness or hate or whatever you want to call it has he seen from this community that makes him make a statement like that. So it's also very sad at the same time. I mean, of course I have different views in regards to the Iranian community. I fortunately haven't been in a position where I've received so much hate that I would make a broad generalized statement like that, but I was more saddened than anything else to hear him kind of say that.
Well, first of all, we can't take away the agency of anybody from their own experience saying whatever they want in terms of their, we don't have to agree with it necessarily in terms of our own experience, but also I feel like a show like this, even though we're talking in English, he's speaking to an Iranian. I'm asking, as an Iranian in the diaspora, as somebody comes from an Iranian background, I'm asking him as another Iranian in the diaspora about Iran that we both care about, and whether it's the protest movement or living there or the culture or whatever. And he's saying these things almost with a knowledge of an unspoken knowledge of me, you, the audience, understanding what he means by that.
Yeah.
I would feel differently if he went on CNN and said that, right?
For sure.
That's the part for me. If an iconic Iranian goes and says all Iranians are like, that's a different kind of animal, and I feel like we have to put that in context for non-Iranians of what we're really getting at here.
We can hate on ourselves, but you can't hate on us.
Exactly. We can use the N-word on ourselves, so that kind of thing, right? I mean, that said, I gave him the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Are you saying Iranians are different from Arabs or English people or Americans? Yes, we're more. It's like, oh my dear, Mr. Khordadian, and I like him so much, and. But he's a passionate guy. This is a guy who has a tattoo of Cyrus the Great on his head.
Oh yeah.
So he's going for it, right?
Can I say something controversial now that we're on this topic? I'm gonna dig myself a little bit of a hole here.
Are you gonna say you're supporting Spain again on
the
Euros? Yeah, go ahead.
No, but what I was gonna say, I mean, everyone in this room is Iranian, and our listeners, a lot of them are Iranian, so I feel like they'll understand the context of what I'm about to say. But we tend to be better, nicer, more empathetic to non-Iranians. than we are to ourselves.
You mean in assessing non-Iranians?
In every way. I mean, we almost have...
We're more critical of other Iranians.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I can understand where his bold statement comes from, and it definitely is within the context of, we're all Iranian, so let me talk to you about what you already know, and you already know what I'm referring to, and that sort of thing.
But can I also say that we're only 2 weeks removed or 3 weeks removed from Anusha, the actress, the online star, the meditational guru, who was here in this studio saying, I hate Taarruf, it's the culture of lies. Like, this is a thing that has been pointed out about our culture.
Right.
And now Mr. Khordadian, who's older and has been through a lot and, gets to be a spokesperson, in one way or another for the community as he's experienced it, is underscoring what she said.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, a woman who's 40 years his junior and in a completely different field. Right?
I mean, listen, the complications of being Iranian are not minimal, right? And this is one of them. I think, I agree that there's some elements of things like Taarruf that are difficult, but there's also a beauty to it. I mean, there's also this level of politeness and respect and being, caring and what is the word I'm looking for? I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah, we're more thoughtful about our interactions with non-Iranians, maybe. Yeah.
And so I think it's it's two sides of the same coin. It's, on one hand, yes, I understand it could be deceiving and there's some element of lying and things like that. But the flip side of that is there's the respect and the empathy and the caring and the politeness and all of those things as well.
I find with someone like Khordadian, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of people out there who over time have, even though he hasn't changed or some of the things that he has done have not changed, people's feelings about them change. You with each decade or each as years go by,
Absolutely.
The same event, you can see it differently based on how you grow up.
Right.
I probably, as a kid in the 80s, if I can't remember what my reactions were, but if I'd seen the Khordadian videos, I mean, anything I saw that was Iranian and like dancing, I was like, this is cheesy. This is like, the 6/8 music. I was never into. I look at it now and go, that is so badass.
Yeah.
This guy. I mean, what is there's an Islamic revolution. There's a war going on. There's a regime murdering people. There's a bunch of people exiled. Everybody's, the music and dance for sure are, dance is still banned, but even music in the first years, and this guy's in LA making these videos in defiance of everything. Not just the Western norms of the time, but he's an Iranian guy. I mean, it's a really, really badass move, right?
It really was. And I mean, all while, not only did he do that, but he also did it in a way that really made a statement. He's a man in a leotard and tights and, all of it. I think everything from the sheer fact that he did something like this to the presentation of it. And
he changed the way men... like what men do at parties at Mehmooni's for the entire Iranian global community. I mean, that's pretty major. Who's had more impact than that?
Oh, definitely no one.
Right? Wow.
No one else.
Listen, if you have any comments out there or interesting thoughts about this, something that was inspired by this interview, by all means, you can post on any of our platforms that you're listening to this on, or email us at info@roqemedia.com, info@roqemedia.com. This and clips from it will all be on our website, roqemedia.com, of course, including ways that you can support what we're doing on that website. And all of our back episodes and all of our video, everything is there, roqemedia.com. Let's get to the roundup before we round up this episode. Talk to me about the roundup subjects today. I guess the big news of the last couple of weeks was the election of Pezeshkian in Iran. How is, he asked, knowing that this is what we want to talk about, how is the Western media dealing with this, Pegah June?
I am so frustrated with the headlines I've been seeing from Western media. I mean, all we've been seeing is reporting, first of all, his win, making it seem like this congratulatory thing, saying, reformist president and labeling him as all of these things. And it's so sad that it's confirming and validating not only this election, but the presidency and everything that's going to follow now thereafter. And of course, this is neglecting the voice of the Iranian people, because as we've talked about on this program so many times, the election as a whole is a sham. Anything to do with the Islamic Republic, as we all know, is, just for show. And even this presidency and even this candidate is, just a puppet. None of this is actually valid in any way, shape, or form. And to see headlines like, there was a Wall Street Journal headline that read, Iran's voters elect their first reformist president in 2 decades. I mean, what part of that
Which
is true?
voters?
Which voters?
What percentage of the pathetic amount of people who voted?
Yeah, exactly. Or there's another headline claiming that the fear of a hardline alternative drove higher turnout for Pezeshkian. I mean, you see headlines like that, and then you see videos all over social media.
Well, actually, I should let me reform what I just said. Let me reformist what I just said. Those headlines are not taken in and of themselves incorrect, right? Yes, a guy was elected.
No, but
in
it
Iran.
is incorrect. Because, first of all, sorry,
well, it's incorrect because
inaccurate.
it's telegraphing a message which is incorrect, that there was a popular election in Iran and a guy who's a reformist. I mean, it is true that some people voted and some people cared and some people believe that there is a difference and some people voted for Pezeshkian and some people are happy about it. That's true.
That's true, but the fact that they're referring to him as the first reformist president in 2 decades, that's certainly not true.
That telegraphs something that is so false, because we know that, I mean, to read that, you'd think, oh, so democracy has come to Iran and reform. So, like, is there a Coldplay concert now in Tehran? Like, instead, what this guy is actually doubling down on, I'm Khamenei's, boy toy, and I don't know about boy toy, but I'm part of the pack, and I'm anti-Israel, and you better wear your hijabs, and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think he did an interview where there was a statement or something where he actually took the time to say, no, anyone who thinks that,
don't you dare call me a reformist.
And that's what I was going to say. They're labeling him. I think I've seen headlines of him being labeled as a quote unquote cautious reformer. But the thing is that, one, he's never identified himself as a reformist, nor has he ever officially belonged to any reformist faction. And on top of all of that, which I think is the reason why I've been so angry at looking at these headlines, is that we know that there's no reform in Iran. There's no concept of reformist or reform or any of that. We've seen that.
But people are so eager to, are desperate for some sense of hope. I had a close friend who said, but he's the first university-educated president, like that since the Islamic Republic. And it's like, really, like, that's what we have to hang on to, but I mean, it's the desperate hope that maybe this is different somehow, he's not like the other clowns, or,
I appreciate the grasping at straws and trying to find, light in all of this. But what I don't appreciate, and I appreciate that from someone who might be living in Iran or is under the rule of the Islamic Republic and has to deal with all of this day in and day out. What I don't appreciate nor understand is why Western media would say things like this and not understand the context.
I think there's 3 reasons. Ready?
Yes.
1, total ignorance. Mm-hmm. Don't know much about what's going on, so we'll just repeat what we saw in some, AP thing that came across the wire or whatever. Mm-hmm. 2, it's a more interesting story. There's like drama. Let's say if it bleeds, it leads. Oh, there's change in Iran. Maybe there's a reformist. This guy's. That's just like that's a newspaper editor or a broadcaster's kind of idea of
stirring the pot.
You bring eyeballs. There's drama. But the third one, and this is what I'm interested to ask you about, is there are folks who have an agenda. Who want to resuscitate the nuclear deal, or want engagement with this government in Iran, who believe it's beneficial to say that there's a chance at reform and there's change in the air, and this guy represents that. And so I wouldn't be surprised if the Wall Street Journal was in touch with those people, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either. And it's just sad that it's at the expense of Iranians. That's really what it comes down to. It's that, the only people who are suffering because of all of this is Iranians who live both inside and outside the country. That's just the reality. We've talked so many times about how the tentacles of the Islamic Republic stretch far beyond the borders of Iran. And we'll just continue to see the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, the more accurate headline might be, there was an election in Iran. Again, the mass majority of Iranians didn't vote in it. And amongst those who voted, there was an interesting asterisk. There was the guy who some people are calling a reformist one. That would be the headline, right?
Definitely not as catchy.
I have, switching topics somewhat, I've heard news of a new report that shows that the Islamic Republic has been involved in supporting and funding some of they would be the pro-Palestinian protests and protesters here in North America. Something that is often talked about and will be no surprise that the Islamic Republic is involved in sort of nefarious ways in trying to spread its propaganda. But what have we learned about this particular development or report?
Yeah, there was actually the director of national intelligence, I believe, warned in a statement on Tuesday that there's reports showing that actors tied to Iran's government are seeking to encourage protests, providing financial support to protesters. And something that I actually read about that really blew my mind is that a lot of Americans who are being targeted by this, I guess, campaign, if you will, really aren't aware that they're interacting with IRGC sponsored individuals or whatever the case may be. And this actually goes back to the conversation we've had so many times, and in fact we were just talking about even in regards to the Western media and the ignorance, is that the context is still lost on so many people, so many Americans, so many foreigners, and I quote unquote foreigners, but so many people really don't understand this this complicated situation with Iran and the politics involved in Iran and things like that. And so sometimes it really is just sheer ignorance, but there's now actual fact that they are in fact sponsoring this, whether it be financially, whether it be to support the protesters, and a lot of it is actually happening on college campuses. A lot of students are being targeted.
That's in a broader sense, it can be filed under the category of how do we believe anything anymore in a world of cyberbots and AI and propaganda and it's I don't know anymore.
What's
when
real?
There's an article about Reza Pahlavi and a bunch of comments. I'm like, I have no idea where some of these comments are coming from. Is this his supporters? Is this his real Iranians who are not supporters? Is this like the IRGC, the cyber army? Like, it's the whole thing is very, very difficult to parse. And, but this development around the protest, the reason why it was an important thing to hear, without getting into the Middle Eastern debate, was because some people have been saying this from the beginning.
Yes.
Some people have been saying these protests, I remember even in Toronto, the U of T encampment went up, and I'm not taking away from some of the folks who were there, with real intentions, real honest intentions, but I remember there was somebody posting online, one of the prominent Iranian kind of social media types saying, where do they get the money for all these tents? Like, why do they all look the same? Like, where's the funding for this, right? Where does it come from? And many of the detractors, certainly pro-Israel kind of folks, and so we'll say, well, the Islamic Republic is involved in this, and we know the ties with Hamas or Hezbollah as proxies for the Islamic Republic. But to hear some of that validated, it's as jarring as hearing, IRGC or driving down the streets of Toronto and targeting people who speak out here as if we're in Tabriz. Yeah.
Look, I think a part of, again, not without getting too involved into the conversation about the Middle East, I think, these protests and the ability...
Only because it becomes a distraction.
Exactly.
Then we have to go down some rabbit hole of what do you support and what you don't. So I'm trying to make a point about the Islamic Republic here.
That's right. I think these protests are, a vital part of the democracy that we believe in countries like Canada and the US and so on. But I think it's important to note that what a lot of Iranians have been saying for years now is that there are actors out there who are trying to infringe upon that democracy and use it to their advantage. And you should be warned that this is happening, and to educate yourselves on the potential of individuals like this being able to, whether it's used campaigns online or whatever else they're doing, whether it's financially or otherwise, it's actually hurting that idealistic view that we all have and want to uphold. So
again, this goes back to like probably the first week after October 7th, I think one of those essays that I did, I said, if Ali Khamenei likes your tweet, it's not a good sign.
Not at all.
You don't want the support of the Islamic Republic.
Exactly.
As wonderful as it may seem to have a nation state supporting what you think is your underdog cause, you don't want these people on your side, right? Yeah. All right. Thanks, Pegah.
We're going to read some comments.
Oh, geez. Oh, that's right.
I was like,
Iran
what are we
Islam.
doing here?
No, you're right. Let's do that. So, to recap, we had an episode last week with Dr. Richard Foltz talking about what Iran was, who Iranians were, and actually not unrelated to the conversation we were just having, because it involves Islamism, and where Iran and Iranians fit into all this. What was and who were Iranians before the coming of Islam? We did this episode, and it's gotten a lot of streams on all of our platforms, and a bunch of comments. So we were going to read a few of them. Go ahead.
So bear with me. I've got 4 comments that I want to make sure we get to.
Okay.
The first one is from Nikon for now is the username. And I believe Nikon says, thanks for the episode. However, I'm afraid saying that being Iranian is just an affinity is simply wrong. I appreciate the gentleman's passion for Iran.
Sorry, that was something that Richard Foltz said?
Yes.
Iran is just an affinity?
Well, you guys had talked about, the fact that he feels that he's Iranian, and although he's not, he wasn't
he's
actually
American.
born.
Yeah.
And he was saying, well, being Iranian is an affinity.
I see.
And so this individual is saying, that's simply wrong. I appreciate the gentleman's passion for Iran, but his view is not accurate. Being Iranian is not quite as arbitrary as having a strong affinity for Iran. And I thought that was really interesting, because I actually, when he said that in the interview, it really made me think that someone who was born I think he was born in the States and has dedicated his life to Iranology and knows all this information and identifies himself almost as Iranian. And yet now we've got someone saying that that's wrong.
And why don't we let him in? I'm just earnest question. Why is he not allowed on the bus?
I mean, hey, why not? But
like, he's got to be blood related, it's like Game of Thrones.
Well, I don't know if this person's saying, he's not allowed on the bus, but I think he's just, I'm assuming that Nikon, please answer and let us know what you really think. But my observation from this comment.
What was the handle? Nikon
for now.
Oh, Nikon for now.
My observation is that, there's more to being Iranian than just an affinity.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. What else you got?
Next we have Nargis Malhair 107, who says...
Nargis for now.
Who says, it was an awesome discussion and I enjoyed it a lot, but now I have to go and study more to accept or reject a few of his statements. I'm embarrassed that although I am an avid reader, I still don't have enough knowledge to accept or reject some of those statements right away. So there's a lot that he has said that seems to, have caused.
I love the desire to need to either accept or reject.
Can't take it at face value.
Can't just enjoy the conversation.
Definitely not.
I will now have to read so that I can accept or reject.
Exactly.
Yeah, great. Good on you now. I guess I appreciate that.
The next 2 comments, this is where a lot of the controversy is going to come up. So the next 2 comments are 2 points that I actually saw many, many comments about.
Okay.
There were things that were discussed that a lot of people seem to agree and disagree with. So I'm going to butcher this handle, so I apologize in advance, but it's at Barar Turhum, I believe.
Okay.
Who has said, just started listening and will go through the entire episode, but I had to drop this comment right away. I'm sorry, India is not defined or identified by the Islamic invaders who were squatting, plundering, destroying, and raping and killing our people. So there's definitely more to this. And there was a lot of... That was
something that Dr. Volt said?
Yes. I believe he made a comment that started, his interest in Iran and where all this came from. And
right, yeah.
And he had said that it was about, he had learned some things about northern India and then recognized that a lot of it was actually from ancient Persia. Yeah. And then, so I think this is where that comment is coming from. But definitely go and have a look through these comments. If you haven't had a chance to listen to the interview or read the comments, I invite you to do so.
This is where? On YouTube?
On YouTube,
okay.
yes.
At Roqe Media, yeah.
That's right. And our last comment is from John Dewey 6358, who says, "Dear friend, Iran has been named by the Greeks, mistakenly Persia. Iranians have always called themselves Iranians, Iranian citizens of Iran Shah, or Iran Shah in different spelling. I think we should correct this historical mistake. We do not call Americans New Yorkers now, do we? Or Canadians Albertans? Thank you." So this is in reference to the part where we were talking about the name of Iran and Persia and where Iran came from and things like that.
So Arian.
Yeah, and so there was a lot of controversy and a lot of back and forth in the comments about whether or not that's accurate. So lots of commentary there.
All right. What do you say, Super P? Nothing. You have nothing to say. Thank you. Well, okay. So is there one side or another
Oh, there's
on the
no
Iran
consensus.
Persia? Okay. Yeah.
Just a lot of back and forth and a lot of opinions.
I love it.
Yeah.
Keep the comments coming. Thank you, Pegah.
Thank you.
This is full time for Roqe for today, and we really appreciate you being here with us. Thank you to Mohammad Khordadian. Thank you to Pegah. And for all things Roqe related, go to our website, roqemedia.com. Thanks to the amazing team who put this show together each week. Super Parisa, Smart Pegah, Savvy, Rohan, Bearded Omid, Talented Anahita, Methodical Kaveh. Thank you to all of you out there for supporting us and sharing our content. Look, if you subscribe, great. Subscribe on as many platforms as you want. If you do not, do subscribe. It's free to subscribe. If you want to support us, you can go to that website, roqemedia.com, and press the Support Us button. And for a small amount each week, become a Roqe member. That has its benefits. You can find Roqe on Instagram and on most of our platforms on social media at Roqe Media. You can find me on Instagram at Jian Gomeshi. And as ever, always heed these words. Mizun Bashi.